Hello and welcome back to another chess game. Now that finally over the board chess is about to return, with the Norway chess starting in just 2 weeks, one of the last online events is actually the Chess24 Banter Blitz tournament. And what would be a better pairing than the two old friends playing against each other, so Magnus Carlsen and Giri Anish. So now I'm going to show you game 5 from their Blitz battle. Actually the first 4 games really went into Carlsen's favor, because he managed to win 3 of these 4 games and only 1 draw. So Giri is already in quite big trouble. And actually the winner is whoever gets 5.5 earlier. So Carlsen is very close now. And even though Giri is with the black pieces, he really needs to win now. So let's go to the game. We went with d4, knight f6, knight f3, d5, and Carlsen chose his favorite by opening the London system, bishop f4. And Anish decided to play a sort of more risky continuation with bishop f5, e3, e6, and after c4, Anish decided to take on b1. So he gives up the pair of bishops, but the idea is that after rook takes b1, he can play the move bishop b4 check. And now the white king has to move because knight e2 is not an option. So after knight e4, the knight is going to be dropped. So king e2 is the only move here. Now Anish continued with d takes c4, queen e4 check, knight c6. Here comes a knight e5, so that's white idea. So now it seems that black has a bit of problem because this knight is pinned, this is attacked, and there could be some problem with queen takes b4 when the knight is eliminated. But here Anish has a nice tactical way to solve his problems, which is playing a5, and after knight takes c6, can play the move queen d7. And now it's actually white who is in the pin, and black is going to take back on c6 sooner or later. So here comes e3, bishop d6. So black's idea would be that if white ever takes on d6, then he can check take back with the pawn, and then his pawn structure is going to be improved. So here comes g3, with the idea that after bishop g2, this knight would be hard to take. So for that reason, Anish decided that it is time to take the knight, so he played queen takes c6, and after take, bishop g2, comes king d7, rook h7, and knight d5. And here we should stop for a moment to see and evaluate the position. So at the moment, black is actually up 1 pawn. Black has these triple c pawns, but actually he has altogether 8 pawns, where white only has 7. It is quite clear that the c4 pawn is going to be taken sooner or later, and also these double points are going to remain for a while. However, black has a nice counterplay by putting his rooks on the b file, then let's say double them up, and there is quite some pressure against this b2 pawn. And moreover, we can see that actually white has a pair of bishops still. And what black would like to force white to do is to take on d6, and in which case, to take on d6, like this, and in which case he could take back with the pawn, solving the problem with his pawn structure. So actually the position is quite balanced, and it seems like a very good choice from Anish to play for the win. So here Carlsen continued with rook takes c4, comes rook b8, and in order to solve the problem of this b2 pawn, Carlsen decided to order his king to the defense of the king side. So first started with bishop e4, h6, so now g5 is the problem, and after h4, rook b6, Carlsen played the move king d2. His plan is to put the king on c1. And let's make one more move, so rook b1 and king c1. And here I actually invite you to try to figure out how to continue with black, how to put more pressure on Magnus Carlsen. So we can see that actually white solved the problem of his b2 pawn. So we can think about some tactical solutions, say rook takes b2. The problem is that rook takes back, and after bishop e3, say rook c2, it's hard to see how black could go on, and black already sacrificed a whole rook. So yeah, this doesn't look any good. So actually the plan here would be to realize that while white all white pieces are now on the queen side, but he still has some problems on the king side. So there are two possible moves to make here. One would be a bit counterintuitive, the move bishop e7, with the idea of, well, this f4 bishop now is actually out of squares, so g5 could be a threat, and when bishop comes to e5, f6, and actually the bishop could be trapped. So for that reason, to bishop e7, there's actually only one move, h5, that solved the problem of the bishop. However, to h5, black could continue with knight f6, so now an unexpected return of the knight, but we can see that this is again a double attack. And white's problem is that if he goes to f3 to defend this pawn, then we can finally take the a3 pawn, because it's not possible to take back given that the rook is hanging behind. However, if Carlsen decides to protect his other pawn, then we can take the h pawn. So this was a very good plan for Giri, but he actually missed it. And there is actually one other plan that leads to Giri's advantage, which is playing the move knight f6. And again, the idea is that now all the white pieces are looking towards the queen side. Let's try to do something on the king side. So the idea is that after bishop d3, again the bishop has to stay on this diagonal to protect the b1 rook, to avoid the bishop e3 sort of cheapo. But the problem is that now comes knight g4, and all these pawns are on the king side are sort of abandoned. So if you make the move f3, then black can just take on f4, e takes f4, knight e3, and black is doing incredibly well. These pieces are just really horrible, and this knight is going to be a monster. And if white decides to make the move rook c2 to protect this pawn, then actually this covers his own protection, so bishop takes e3 is once again possible. So yeah, these were the two moves that could have left to Giri's advantage, so either bishop e7 or knight f6. However, Giri played a different move. He played the move rook b3, which is somewhat hard to understand what the idea behind is. Now comes rook a4 attacking this pawn, but again here Giri had the chance to play the move bishop e7 with the same ideas as before. But Giri again didn't see this move, so he played the move rook b5. Now comes bishop d3, and actually, funny enough, even in this position the best move is still bishop e7, with the idea that if bishop takes, rook takes, then here actually there's a double threat of g5, and also knight b6 trapping this rook. So yeah, bishop e7 was the best move for a very long time. But Anish actually lost a bit of the thread of the game, and he once again went back to b3. But the problem is that after bishop c2, rook b5, bishop takes d6, is now going to lose a pawn, because cd, bishop d3, and it's not possible to protect this pawn. So after rook b3, bishop c4, rook goes away, and Carlsen will be allowed to take this pawn. And first he actually exchanged his strong knight on d5, and then took on a5. And it's quite clear that these two pawns are going to be decisive. And also now finally this rook on b1 is going to be a good piece, because it will support the march of this pawn. So came rook c8, king d1. Also the players have just few seconds left. So here Anish had no time to put up true resistance. Comes rook c8, b4. While here it's very clear that you could just try to invade and create some counterplay. But for some reason Anish played the move king e7. Came b5, rook c2, rook e7. Check, king f6, b6, rook f2, and this is actually the last trick of Anish. So here again I invite you to stop the video and figure out how to win the game. So actually the last trick of Anish is that if you play b7, then he could double up on the second rank, and after b8 queen there is just perpetual check on the second rank. There's no way white could escape this. So this was the last trick, but of course Carlsen saw this, and instead of being eager to push it too early, played the move rook c7, and when the black rook went away, came b7, rook a3, and here he can easily take the pawn, to promote the pawn, because rook d3, king e1 is not a perpetual, because you can just take on f2. And so he didn't give this check, played rook a2, with the idea of the previous perpetual, but after queen b5 he's just simply done. The queen protects this square and also the f1 square, so white is just up a queen, so it was no need to fight on for Giri. So it's already 4.5 half to Carlsen, and actually the game also ended well. Giri managed to win the next game in a quite interesting battle, but then Carlsen finished him off in the next one, and that was about it. So Carlsen qualified for the semi-final, which is against Aronian, and if Carlsen manages to win that one, then he will face the winner of Zhou Weasley and Le Quang Lim.